G'day guys and gal. Who said the Ravenguard weren't cool? Not this guy. I've basically been on a Ravenguard crusade for the last few months, commissioning insane Ravenguard artworks, making awesome Ravenguard videos, and even releasing the most Raven of Ravenguard as a major mini. And I'm not done, as after reading a dope as hell Warhammer short story, I have one more little birdie up my sleeve. What do you get when you have a Ravenguard tech marine with a cyborg bird, 2 gun servitors, and an abominable intelligence? That's right, the Doom of Mars. Dravian Clade, the Carrion, almost near single-handedly destroyed the Red Planet in one of the most badass missions and stories in all of 40k lore. I have never rooted for a space marine as hard as the Carrion, and after this video, neither will you. Before we get started, speaking of the devil, after a bit of consideration and a lot of emails and messages, we are making the Ravenlord Trader Hunter a permanent part of the Major Mini range. It's an awesome model, and we are confident that with our upgraded production capacity, that we can get these out on the regular to you legends. For those living under a rock, a few months ago I released the Ravenlord, one of the greatest major minis to exist, and everyone loved it. The Ravenguard Reddit was flooded with people posting their painted Ravenlords, and it was actually really humbling. The Ravenguard don't get a whole lot of love, and I used to be a part of that camp. However, after actually learning about them, they are one of my favorites, so I wanted to honor them. To celebrate the return, I've printed off 100 in the 75mm scale Ravenlord, which are larger than tabletop, designed for people who just love painting and aren't too worried about tabletop gameplay, as well as 3 112 scale Ravenlords for those that want a fuck off statue that they can flex on their mates. The 75mm scale and the 112 scale will never come back. I was just feeling cheeky and I believe in second chances. But yeah, Ravenlord is back in action for as long as legally possible. Link is below. Today we'll go over the lore of the Carion and his quest to destroy Mars. Also, shout out to Alex Christie for the amazing thumbnail art for this video, showing the Carion doing his thing. Link to the high-res version will be free on my Patreon. Let's get into it. So how does any hero go from a Ravenguard to a cyborg lightning wizard on a quest to destroy Mars? Well, it starts pretty horrifically. Clade was a sergeant of the Ravenguard from early on in the Great Crusade. During a mission where they took on some spicy Xeno alien monsters, he and his squad were discovered and attacked. During the brutal fight, Clade got absolutely fucked up, losing limbs, parts of his head, and bits of flesh. He was borderline dreadnought worthy, however they instead opted to do a heavy cybernetic reconstruction. While this would have been pretty cool if he was an Iron Hand, the Ravenguard generally shunned cybernetics as it made them slower and less stealthy. Clade's awkward bulk and movement made it so he couldn't perform his normal duties or go on the classic missions he used to. As a solution, his Legion sent him to Mars to become a tech marine, as that would be the only way he could return to the Legion with honor and purpose. Clade had a great affinity for technology and invention, being one of the star students. One of his greatest feats of technological prowess was modifying himself to be able to absorb power and energy from machines to empower himself or to release that power in a lethal explosion of electricity, a power that would come in clutch many times. However, just before he and his battle brothers were to graduate and become tech marines, ready to be sent back to their legions, the schism of Mars had begun. At first it was subtle, small assassinations and code corruptions, with the tech marines being one of the first targets. All tech marine trainers were summoned to the fabricated general, whilst all tech marine trainees were to remain in their citadel. The tech marine trainers were either killed or turned into servitors, with the Dark Mechanicum then planning on sending an army to the citadel to wipe out the rest. It's important to note here that in the citadel there were marines from the Trader Legions present, including Iron Warriors. However, at this point in the heresy, no one really knew who was on what side, so the Dark Mechanicum wasn't going to take any chances. As the trainees were unknowingly waiting to more or less die, the Carrion included, the Iron Warrior tech marine called Alice Scaramanca, who was considered the best of them, discovered, via advanced network tracking and whatnot, that the identifier beacon of their trainees were discovered in the servitor pits of the asshole of the planet, confirming something bad had happened to their teachers, who they were already suspicious of as they had expected them back days prior. This gave them a short but important window to prepare for an attack, and boy did they prepare. The Mechanicum's forces came in droves, sieging every level of the Citadel at the same time. Every level had the equivalent of a squad of tech marines or so that defended it. Some levels fell quickly, probably due to them having too many Emperor's Children tech marines on them, whilst others repelled attack after attack, such as the Carrion and Scaramanca's level. And yes, the Carrion shot out lightning like a fucking techno wizard during the battle. However, despite butchering hundreds of Mechanicum forces, one by one the tech marines died. Soon it was only the Carrion and the Iron Warrior left. However, Mars got sick of playing nice, so they sent a Warlord Titan to destroy the Citadel. In a final act of self-sacrifice, the Iron Warrior threw the Carrion out of the Citadel, reasoning that if anyone had the best chance of flying, it was a Ravenguard. The Carrion landed on a ship mid-flight and forced it to crash land, saving himself as the Titan blew up the Citadel and seemingly killed everyone still left in it. As a quick side note to why he's called the Carrion, initially it was because of the reconstruction of his body and how close to death he actually was, But then it became more about his ability to draw power from other machines, that kind of like a Carrion feeder, plus, you know, Carrion, bird, whatever. The Carrion would make it off Mars, using his Ravenguard skills to avoid detection. Sure, he was a bit clunky and loud for a Ravenguard, but he was still a son of Korax. Arriving on Terra, he would be approached by Malcador due to his unique abilities and resourcefulness to join Malcador's Knights Errant, his secret order of legionless marines who would strike out in the galaxy solo or in small teams to complete important objectives. The Carrion's objective would be very important. See, Terra was dealing with a massive problem, the entire heresy. That problem being Mars. Mars was under the control of the War Master, and to siege it and bring it back under Imperial control would take too much time, resources, and cost too many Space Marines, hence it was put under blockade. The issue, however, was that when the War Master would come, Mars would be an excellent staging ground where it could launch a full invasion of Terra. However, the Imperium couldn't just exterminatus Mars, firstly because it was too valuable, and secondly, it would turn all Mechanicum forces still loyal to the Emperor against the Imperium, dooming them. However, there was another option. If Mars could be sabotaged and lose its ability to sustain life on its surface, its productivity would nosedive and it would be a horrific staging ground, as all troops on its surface would need to be in void sealed gear and would be exposed to deadly radiation. Life on Mars was sustained by a special weather controlling power station on its pole. If this station was destroyed, life on Mars would end. However, Mars's infrastructure and technological secrets would remain. Malcador tasked the Carrion with going back to Mars to complete this objective by any means possible. Before the mission, the Carrion built a cyborg Raven and was given 2 elite gun servitors to lend him a hand. The Carrion knew that he couldn't just storm the station and take it out. He would need help, and that help would come from the most unlikely of places. See, early in his tech marine training, the Carrion witnessed the trial of a tech priest who had worked on and then with a newly discovered abominable intelligence called the Tabul Myriad. It was like a super AI, seemingly even more powerful than a man of iron. Its code was pure and incorruptible, and it existed purely to fight chaos. However, it had a pretty big fatal flaw, that being, if it detected that a civilization would ever fall to chaos or could ever fall to chaos, it would destroy that civilization. Since pretty much every civilization was vulnerable to chaos in some way, it wanted to destroy all civilizations. It would use its near infinite computing power to calculate the best chance of victory, and it also had no issue overriding and taking over other machines or robots. It was only through the efforts of the Iron Hands that it was captured in the first place. The Tabulum even predicted Mars would eventually fall, which it did, so it attempted to destroy Mars but was stopped and put into stasis, along with the tech priests who worked with it. The Carrion freed the Tabulum from stasis and then it activated its army. With this force, the Carrion was able to push through and fight its way to the station. However, the traders had predicted this and had placed a large army, including Titans, to guard it. Even with its advanced AI warriors, the Tabulum had no chance of winning the battle, so it instead sacrificed 95% of its army to give the Carrion and a few AI warriors a chance to slip in. The plan worked, with the Carrion, Tabulum, the Carrion's Raven, gun servitors, and a dozen or so AI warriors getting through, as well as the tech priest. However, in a tragic turn, the Carrion would come face to face with an old friend. See, the Iron Warrior tech marine Scaramanca didn't actually die. He was pulled from the rubble and then cum-blasted with chaos corrupted code and then turned into a mechanized mechanical hentai monster. Both the Carrion and the Iron Warrior tried to convince each other of their causes, but neither would budge, so the two sides fought. Despite everything, all his skills, his servitors, his lightning techno wizard powers, the AI, the Iron Warrior was too powerful and he even destroyed the Tabula Myriad itself. During the battle, the Iron Warrior was almost actually cured of his corruption. When he tried to corrupt one of the AI warriors, it countered his corruption and flooded his system with cleaning, purified code. However, he rejected the redemption as facing the horrors of what he has become would be too much. With the Tabulum destroyed, the gun servitors dead, and the Carrion mortally wounded, all seemed lost. However, one AI warrior remained. It began retreating. See, the thing about the Tabula Myriad is that it was more than just a floating orb. If any of its warriors survived, it would survive through them. So if this robot warrior escaped, the Tabulum would live on. The Iron Warrior tried to stop it, but in a final act of defiance, the Carrion drew power from his old friend and killed both of them, allowing the Tabulum to escape. So Mars would not be cleansed on this day. However, with the Tabulum escaping, it set up its own war against the Dark Mechanicum, purifying robots and even Titans for the Loyalists to use. The Tabulum and its war against Mars is the main reason why the Dark Mechanicum was suppressed for the entire heresy and could never challenge the blockade. Through its efforts, countless Chaos Scutari and other mechanical abominations were destroyed, with many Titans also being purified or taken out as well. The legacy of the Carrion would live on. Perhaps its efforts in weakening the Dark Mechanicum was what tipped the knife's edge in favor of the Loyalists. I'd like to think so. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up the Ravenlord Trader Hunter in one of 3 scales. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more Raveny content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.